Hey y'all, Aidan here. What's the first thing you think of when I say the words founding document? That's right, the United States Constitution. It's long, girthy, it has over 6 articles. I mean, what's there not to love? You know, looking at this piece of American history really makes me appreciate the fact that we got it right from day one of being a country. They what? The Articles of Confederation were set to be the grand union of the states. I mean, come on, it's in the title. Well, when you put it like that. However, despite being the document that created the first American government, the Articles were completely abandoned just 12 years after they were adopted. So, what gives? Well, for starters, the Articles never gave Congress the ability to collect taxes. Not off to a great start. Of course, the Articles made sure to redeem this by not allowing a national standing army. What were they thinking? Yeah, the Articles of Confederation weren't the greatest when it came to making a strong central government. However, it's important to remember the time period in which they were written. For nearly a century, America had faced constant military oversight and taxes without representation under British colonial rule. So once they were able to create their own government, it made sense not to include the things they were fighting a war to get rid of. Of course, not including them did lead to the collapse of the government. Well, you can't have everything. However, these were only the start of the issues, because this is where the phrase League of Friendship walks in. Walk out! The League of Friendship was the answer that the writers of the Articles of Confederation came up with when asked the question, how will the Articles handle each state wanting to keep its own constitution and government? That's it! Instead of creating a federalist system of government where powers are shared between the state and central government, what the writers of the Articles ended up doing was essentially nothing, deciding to let the states have free reign on most things they already had the power to do. I mean, there were a few places where the federal government would intervene here and there. You wouldn't want your state government to just start casually granting titles of nobility now, would you? As you can probably guess, this system created several problems, with the major one being that Congress couldn't properly regulate foreign and interstate commerce, leading to each state having its own monetary policy and separate system of currency. Yeah, it wasn't the best idea in hindsight, but at the time it was the only way to get the states on board with any type of central government after what had happened under the British. Moving past this, it's important to note that not everything in the Articles of Confederation set it up for failure. In fact, the Articles actually had a number of good ideas as well. Through the Articles, colonies once separated from one another became a confederation of states encouraged to increase domestic trade and interstate travel because of the Privileges and Immunities Clause that made sure citizens from one state could enjoy the rights of citizens from any other state they traveled to. Along with this, the extradition and full faith and credit clauses made the interstate justice system much stronger by stopping criminals from fleeing into other states and strengthening the credibility of the states' judiciaries. Was all that enough to keep the government working for more than 12 years? Oh look, it's time to talk about how Shays' Rebellion directly led to the end of the Articles of Confederation and the creation of a new United States Constitution. Nearly a decade after adopting the Articles of Confederation, the United States wasn't faring too well economically. Without national economic protections, Revolutionary War veterans never got paid for their service, and states began to tax their residents at exorbitant rates. When it came to stopping this, we only had a few options here. And so, in late 1786, Daniel Shays and a group of rebels from Springfield, Massachusetts attempted a violent takeover of the Springfield Armory and Supreme Court building. The rebellion would never achieve its goals, however, the fact that it was able to occur for as long as it did, with the amount of support it had, led many Americans to rethink how the government functioned under the Articles of Confederation. So, less than a year after the rebellion, a constitutional convention was held to completely rework the Articles of Confederation. A convention that would eventually lead to the creation of a new United States Constitution, which would completely replace the Articles of Confederation in 1788. Though many may look back on the Articles of Confederation today as one of America's greatest mistakes, I prefer to think of it as an important step on America's historical journey that laid the groundwork for a government that, despite its flaws, was much stronger and more democratic and fair than a majority of the other governments at the time. Yes, America may have been able to do a lot more if it had realized and corrected the flaws in the Articles of Confederation from the very start, but you must admit that there were many worse things that could have happened to America in its early years if another system of government was used. And hey, at least after the Constitution got ratified, America finally had a functioning government and never had to fundamentally alter the system of government ever again. There's 27 what?